I had a page in my journal I didn't love, so I decided to cover it up. I used some drop cloth, cut it, and ripped it. I did the same thing with some of the smaller pieces, but I decided I was going to stamp on this fabric. So I'm using the Iron Orchid Designs new Bella Stamp. It's recommended that you very lightly sand your brand new stamps. After laying out my design, I'm using the Ocean's Deep ink by Iron Orchid Designs on a disposable cutting board with a brayer. Place your stamp down, hold it with one hand and lightly press with the other. This was too light, so I'm pressing harder. I absolutely love the way this stamp looks on fabric. I cleaned my disposable cutting board with a little alcohol and a rag. I used Titebond Quick and Thick glue for just about everything. I mixed it with a little bit of water to make it easier to spread. I wasn't worried about it gluing down completely. I'm playing with some fuzzy yarn now, piece of torn drop cloth, just kind of gluing everything down, figuring out what I want to use and where. I did ink my edges, but this is something you really should do at the end. I decided I really love this yarn in the spine, but I had some issues trying to glue it down, so you'll see me take it off here in just a second. I ended up just using the tube of glue, running a bead, and embedding the yarn in it using the back side of my brush. I'm trying a stamp and lots of other things that I have just to see if these are elements that I want to add to my art journal page. I did decide on a word and to use some ink to ink up the edges of the word before I glued it down. I'm stamping the butterfly on watercolor paper and I will cut it out. I feel like it needs something else, so I'm trying out some more words. Sometimes elements just don't work. The butterfly just wasn't working out for me, so I decided I was going to try to stamp some words. I do love the way this came out stamped on the fabric, but you couldn't see it with the background. So I decided to stamp it on some watercolor paper. I think actually I would have been happier if I had left it stamped on the fabric and glued that on top of this white watercolor paper for some contrast. But you live and learn. I'm using some Posh Chalk Aqua Patina to ink up my edges. It's a metallic gilding wax and will add just a little bit of contrast between the paper and the background. As a final touch, I like to stamp the date when I remember to actually do it, 9/11/22. It's very unusual for me not to use paint on an art journal page, but I knew I wanted to try some fiber art this time, and I spent about an hour and a half creating 2 pages and had the best time. I hope this inspires you to create your own page very soon.